Welcome to the Beyond Haunted UK podcast. I'm Jamie, and in this series, we explore the spaces where history, mystery, and the supernatural collide. But before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This podcast contains references to historical witch trials, death, and persecution, which some listeners may find distressing. Listener discretion is advised. For the full experience, I recommend listening with earphones or headphones. This episode has been mixed in stereo to bring you closer to the story and capture every subtle detail in the sound. In the shadow of Pendle Hill, Lancashire, the wind carries stories older than memory. Tales of witches, whispers of curses, and the echo of a trial that changed England forever. This is Beyond Haunted UK, and tonight we step into the year 1612, a time where fear itself was a weapon. Pendle Hill rises from the landscape like a dark monument. Its slopes are beautiful, but there's a heaviness in the air, and something that seems to remember. In 1612, Lancashire was poor, wild, and deeply superstitious. Every illness, every failed harvest, and every death had a cause. And people looked not to reason, but to witchcraft. In that world lived two families, the Demdikes and the Chattocks, both known for charms, for healing, and for cursing those who crossed them. Elizabeth Device, known as Old Demdike, and Anne Whittle, Old Chattocks, were women of age, poverty, and power. They traded in folklore and fear, and when England changed its laws on witchcraft, that power became dangerous. It began with a meeting on the road. Alison Device, granddaughter of Old Demdike, met a peddler named John Law. When he refused her pins, she cursed him, and moments later, he collapsed, struck by sudden paralysis. Coincidence? Perhaps. But in 1612, coincidence was a word few dared to use. Dragged before the magistrate Roger Nowell, Alison confessed. Terrified, repentant, and in doing so, she named others. Neighbours, family, rivals, and so the net began to tighten. At Lancaster Castle, 11 people stood accused of witchcraft. Children, mothers, grandmothers, and even 9-year-old Janet Device, forced to testify against her own blood. The trial records still exist. The wonderful discovery of witches in the county of Lancaster. They read like a script written by hysteria itself. Confessions under pressure, visions of familiars, black dogs, spirits, clay images. 10 were found guilty and sentenced to hang. Among them, Alison Device, her mother Elizabeth, and Old Chattocks. And only one was acquitted. Old Demdike died in her cell before the trial even began. Her story sealed in the damp darkness beneath the castle. When the gallows fell silent, Pendle Hill did not. Locals claimed to see figures walking the slopes in the mist, lights that danced on the moor, and whispers that carried names long buried. Even now, hikers speak of shadows at the tree line, footsteps when the air is still, and the strange feeling of being watched. Perhaps it's guilt, or memory, or something much older, something that refuses to fade. Pendle Hill became more than a place. It became a warning. A reminder of what fear can do when it finds a name to wear. We often think of witches as symbols of darkness, but the true darkness was not in their magic. It was in the hearts of those who condemned them. The women of Pendle were poor, outspoken and different, and for that they became monsters in the eyes of their neighbours. And 4 centuries later, their story still stirs unease. Because perhaps the witch hunts never really ended. They just changed their shape. Pendle Hill stands quiet now, but the wind still moves through its grass like a voice remembering. If you visit, listen carefully. You might hear the whisper of Alison Device, or the sigh of her grandmother, Old Demdike, still waiting for justice that never came. I'm Jamie, and this was Beyond Haunted UK. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, keep the lights on.